Hey guys, Jessica here. So today we're going to talk about the Milkdrops wearable pump. Milkdrops cushions, let me pull this off and show you. So this is a Milkdrop cushion. What this is one of the potential solutions on the market for elastic nipple and breast tissue. I have mixed feelings on these cushions. I do use them with clients in some cases. I don't particularly love the design, and I think it's because of who I tend to see in my practice. I tend to see a lot of moms who have elasticity issues. I tend to see moms who need more help with something being very consistent and predictable. With this cushion, what it does, this one's their one for the wearable. I'll do another video where I show you their one for their portable pump that goes on traditional flanges. This cushion stretches over the pump. And what this does is, one, it's going to eliminate some of the air seal issues we have with a pump. It's also going to eliminate some of the backwards pressure. This is a very soft surface. So when you go to put this on your body, it's able to sit in your bra without as much of the backwards pressure against the breast as we see with some options. So for some people, this could be a really good thing. It is the cup with the motor design. I mean, if you've been on my channel before, you know that that's not always my favorite design. I would love to have seen an integrated motor more similar to a style like this with the cushion. I think that would be a better fit because I think for a lot of moms, when we're dealing with this, it's going to be fairly large. We want to really make sure that if we're using these cushions, we really need to have the bra fit nailed in. And the cup with motor design does cause a little bit of issues with that. I also am not a huge fan. So this is your diaphragm and your motor just sits down onto that. Sorry, I just accidentally turned that on. I don't love when the motor sits directly into the diaphragm instead of sitting like on a post because I see more issues with suction loss. So it is more likely that I'm going to see a client who's complaining about this getting popped off. And I will say that I've had clients who use the Milkdrop cushions. I bought this Milkdrop pump, like I bought it with my own money. I have not had anybody use it because it's not exactly a cheap wearable and it's not a company that people really know about here in the US. Lots of people have seen the cushions, but the cushions are also not cheap, which is also inhibiting people from trying it. What I have found in my lactation practice, and the company does not tell you to do this, I'm telling you this is the hack I have found that works with them. When they're dealing with a medium cushion, it's still, your nipple is just kind of free floating in that space. And if all of your elasticity is from your areola and not from your nipple, then your nipple is not going to swell when it enters this cushion because the areola is not going to get pulled in. What I find is that we typically have to get a medium cushion and put an insert in. What that does is that now you've got a setup where there is a lot of movement. So every time this pump cycles, there is going to be movement in here. That is a lot more dynamic movement than what we see with the average pump setup. So if I am, let's just pull this one for instance, once this is sealed to the breast, there's very little movement in the areola and breast tissue, which can inhibit milk flow. That's part of the reason that we see that, some people do better with the traditional flanges. There is a little bit more movement happening because there's not that backwards pressure. This is essentially creating that opportunity for movement with the stability and hands-free experience of a wearable. In terms of the actual programming, I do really like the program on this one. I was pretty impressed. It does have a really deep diaphragm compared to some wearable pumps. I will say they don't have replacement parts on sale here in the US, but I ran into a problem with a diaphragm that got torn and they were quick to respond to me on social media. They're sending me the replacement. I have interacted with this company several times over the cushions, and I've always had a really beneficial experience. So even though they're not for sale yet, I'm assuming they're going to be able to support the pump, which they have to, or the pumps are not going to work because this diaphragm is unique. It's very, very deep. When you have a deeper diaphragm, you're going to get a more sustained pull. That's part of the reason that we see that like the baby Buddha flanges do give you that longer pull, is that this diaphragm has more room for movement. As long as the diaphragm is in movement, you're gonna have suction applied to the breast. So this is gonna give you a little bit longer sustained pull, which is, when combined with the cushions, fantastic because the cushions are gonna dull the amount of suction you get. We talk about that all the time with heavy silicone flanges dulling the suction. This is gonna greatly reduce it. So even though this pump topped out at 321 mmHg, I think it's going to feel closer to max. When it's maxed out, it's going to feel closer to 240, 250, just because that silicone is going to absorb a lot. And then when you add in the elasticity of the silicone and the elasticity of the breast tissue, yeah, you're going to get a lot of movement. Now, it does come with the wearable cushions, but you can take them off. So if for some reason this doesn't work out for you, and it doesn't work out for everybody, then you can just put an insert in here. So you're not locked in to using the cushions if you end up not liking them. One of the things I do want to point out, just because I try to be really sensitive to sensory issues just because of my own children. This does have a unique texture. It always feels to me like it's like slightly moist, maybe a little greasy, but it's not. There's no residue actually coming off of it. It's just the nature of the silicone. I do find this to be very comfortable against the breast, and I do find that texture does allow it to kind of sit in place and to not really move, which I think is helpful. If we're going to use the pumps with the motor on top, we really need it to be stable in the bra, because any movement is going to increase your chances that you knock your motor loose. There's 4 different modes on this. It's very easy to operate. One of the things I like is that when you go to turn the pump on, you do have to press it for a minute. You have to actually like interact with these buttons deliberately, which is I think a good idea, because when it's sitting right here, it's very easy, especially if you're holding your baby while you're pumping or interacting with a toddler. Things get hit on the top of these pumps, and it's like pocket dialing your pump. But you don't want to pocket dial your pump, because if you're on level 3, maybe level 4 is too high for you. You don't want to change modes. We don't want any surprises when we're pumping. So this one, you do have to be very intentional. And this feature I thought was cool. Even though this is not a smart pump, they do have the ability over here to change. You can see that it has a little L. If I press this again, it says R. I think that's really helpful for some people where maybe their left and their right are different sizes, so they can kind of get their pumps set up, put them in their bag, and then just when they turn it on, it's going to give them that icon to tell them which one it is without having to like recheck the silicone inserts, because frankly, a 15 and a 17 millimeter insert don't visually look all that different. So I think this is a pretty solid option. It's $199 on their website. Is it going to be for everybody? No, but for some of my more sensitive moms, or maybe moms with elasticity, I use Milkdrop's cushions when I'm dealing with moms with like Ehlers-Danlos or connective tissue disorders. We do say that this can be really helpful. Again, not for everybody, but this is a really cool option to consider. All in all, I like their wearable. It's definitely one that I would recommend considering. It's been a really good experience testing it out. I haven't had any clients that are using it, so I would love to hear if you have been using it, what you thought of it, because sometimes I can test it, I think it's going to be great, and maybe somebody else has a very different take on it, or they found a limitation that I can't find. This is just one where I'm not seeing it really catch on here in the US yet, but I think Milkdrops is primarily out of Australia. I don't think they're really focused on the US market. They just happen to also sell here. So definitely very positive interactions with the company. The pump quality is definitely there. I'm very pleased with it. I don't have a lot of concerns about their customer service. Like I said, they've been fantastic. So definitely something to consider. If you're looking at it and you think that these could work for you, give it a try. If you've tried it, I'd love to know what your thoughts on it are. And hopefully this helps somebody who's looking for, that under $200 wearable, maybe for more sensitive nipples or for elastic nipples, just might be something to consider. So hopefully that helps, and happy pumping.